evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Okay, welcome to the Jamaica Diaspora Northeast 2017 election debate. I want to thank you for coming. This debate has been sponsored by the JDME Elections Committee. I'm your host for the evening, the Reverend Andrew Bennett, Sr., and we will be having a robust, inspiring, engaging debate this afternoon. I'm looking forward to hear what our candidates would have to say. Thank you so much for joining us, especially those of you who are joining us via the internet. We are glad you are here. We want to thank the Jamaica Diaspora Show and Mr. Mark Millward for making this happen for us this evening. At this time, we're going to open in prayer as is customary, and we have with us Deacon Sam Sheraton, and he is going to lead us in prayer.
Eternal Father, the giver of every good and perfect gift, we thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for the gift of our island home, Jamaica, and we come now to discuss the future leadership of the diaspora, and we ask you to bless each and every candidate who has made themselves available for leadership. We ask you to bless the proceedings tonight, and everything that's done, give honor and glory to your name. We pray this in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
The primary purpose of our debate this evening is to give our candidates an opportunity to give their platform, tell us a little bit about their platform, to share their vision as nominees to the position of diaspora ABMs, and we are looking forward to hearing what they have to say. I would like to give you a little bit of rundown as to the guidelines of our evening and how we will approach the debate. First of all, the debate style we're using is an announcer, moderator approach, where I'll be asking the questions. We are going to go into 2 or 3 sections if we have the time. First of all, we're going to have some opening statements by the candidates, and they all know exactly the order in which they are going to be appearing. And then we are going to ask them to give us opening statements for 2 minutes. After the opening statements are given, we're going to go into section 1, which will look at the candidates' exposure to diaspora matters. And we're going to ask several questions in that section. We're going to go to section 2, which will look at the candidate's vision overall for the diaspora itself. And then section 3, we're going to look a little bit at diaspora development. We're going to talk a little bit about diaspora development. Hopefully we will have the time perhaps to give a question or 2 to the audience. Maybe somebody in the audience would like to ask the panel of nominees a question. So please note that the questions will be 2 minutes in response from each candidate. When you're outside of 30 seconds to completing the 2 minutes, the timekeeper will sound the bell once, and then thereafter, we're going to, after the 30 seconds is up and your time is up, the timekeeper will sound the bell twice. You will have 2 minutes to respond, and you'll get in 1 minute to rebut. Now, in the rebuttal, we're going to ask you to choose one of the candidates' comments that you have heard that you would like to rebut on, and then you will rebut for a minute on that. So that is pretty straightforward. 2 minutes to answer the questions, and 1 minute for rebuttal. Okay, are we ready? Come on, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. At this time, we're going to invite our first candidate to tell us her name and give us her opening statement.
Good evening, everyone, and also those who are listening on Twitter, on social media, wherever you're listening from. Good evening. My name is Akeelia Maitland, and I am running, of course, for the position of Jamaica Advisory Board member. Why am I running for this position? So this position has been in existence for several years now, over 10 years now, advising Jamaica. And this is an opportunity for me to give back in a more tangible way some of the concerns that we've seen in our community. Want to make sure that I become that mouthpiece for Jamaicans, if you will. That's how I see this position, an opportunity to be the mouthpiece for Jamaicans in the Northeast to Jamaica. I do believe it's a relevant position. There's a lot of issues that affect us as Jamaicans in the Northeast, or just globally, right? We give back to Jamaica when it comes to remittances, when it comes to philanthropy, and so there's a lot of things that matter to us, that affect us, and that's why I'm running for advisory board member.
Thank you very much. And now we will have the opening statement for our second candidate. Please introduce yourself and give us your statement.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Carleen Lardy, and I am running for the advisory board member position for the Jamaica Diaspora Northeast. I believe that the region needs constructive leadership covering all sectors, and I believe that my experience in the diaspora over the past 30 plus years gives me that opportunity to use those personal skills and leadership skills to impact the community regarding issues, to bring the community together in terms of unity, support, action. My involvement in various community organizations and the initiatives to which I have played a leading part contributes to my belief that it is time for me to step up and serve the diaspora community. I'm of the firm opinion that there are issues within this diaspora, the Northeast. We need to more or less get our act together. There have been a lot of dissatisfaction surrounding the relationship between the diaspora and the Jamaica and the Jamaican leaders. But I feel that it's partly due to us not being fully organized and with a base, so to speak. And so my intention is to do that, is to get us together so that we have one voice, that we have one fist instead of 5 fingers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we will now go to our third speaker. Yes, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Ron Ingleton, and I'm running for the Jamaica Diaspora USA Northeast board member position. And after careful consideration over the years, I thought it is time enough that I step up and share my skills that I've had over the years accumulated and known about diaspora affairs. I've been active in the diaspora, and more so I've attended just about all the diaspora events and have a direct feel of exactly how Jamaicans feel in the diaspora towards their homeland, Jamaica. Now, it is very, very disturbing to me that most Jamaicans here in the diaspora does not even understand or know that there is a diaspora board that they could reach out to. And that's one of the things that I want to get done, that the Jamaican community understand that they can reach out and there's someone that they can speak to that will make recommendations on their behalf to the government of Jamaica and the persons responsible in the different areas that they might have concern. I indicated that one of the things that I would love to see happen is that we have a diaspora board, a subcommittee board behind me that will actually be given the opportunity to weigh in and assist me in bringing forward the ideas that you need us to recommend. And I will do that to the best of my ability once I'm given the opportunity to do so. And I look forward to serving the Jamaican community here in the diaspora.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard all three candidates giving their opening statements, and now we're going to move in the first section, having the candidates talk a little bit about their exposure. We are going to go to our first candidate, and we're going to ask this candidate to please describe your current involvement, Ms. Maitland, your current involvement in the Jamaican diaspora. What is your current involvement in the Jamaican diaspora?
So my current involvement, most recently my current involvement has been with young Jamaican leaders within the diaspora. And so we have our Jamaica 55 Diaspora Conference coming up, a plug for that conference. And in preparation for that conference, it has been galvanizing our young people to attend the conference, or if they cannot attend, to find ways for them to contribute to the program for that conference. And sitting also on the core group for my cohort around what should that program look like for young people, right? What is it that we want to see as issues, as concern? So I've been representing our cohort along with other members across the UK, Canada, and the US. So that's my most recent diaspora involvement.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Lardy, could you answer the question?
Sure.
Please describe your current involvement in the Jamaican diaspora.
And I have 2 minutes. I will try to break it down into 2 minutes. Everything I do, just about everything that I do, because I'm retired, is involved with the diaspora and a relationship with Jamaica. Like Akelia, right now, I'm focusing on encouraging our community to attend the conference. There was a lot of angst surrounding the communication of that information. And so I say, rather than continue this angst and this discussion, go to the conference, put up your hand, and voice your opinions. And hopefully, between the two of us, we will get a large contingent in Jamaica in July. But I'm also involved with the Jamaica Diaspora Education Task Force. We are currently attempting to run a US $2.2 million fundraising campaign with corporate Jamaica, and that is to serve basic schools in Jamaica. I am the immediate past president of UJA. I remain on the board of UJA, that's the Union of Jamaican Alumni Associations, and we are getting ready to attend the conference, as we have been represented in all of the diaspora conferences since they started. One of the other things that we're doing is we're trying to get into the marketplace again. We did it the last conference, and it was a great impact and success for us. So I'm busy in the diaspora, and I continue to do that.
Thank you. We will have the third nominee responding, Mr. Ronald Ingleton.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Currently, I serve as a director for the Union of Jamaica Alumni Association, and which is primarily over 40 high schools and associations that at least meet every quarter to discuss education for the most part, basic school education, as it is one of the main concerns that I would also like to address when I become the board member. But even more so, my great concern is the lack of sponsorship for students that we could do here in the Northeast, encouraging our young people in Jamaica that there is a road for them in terms of scholarships, that they can further education, and also to bring together our resources in the area of education. Also, I really, my involvement also is to get as many Jamaicans to be involved in the decision making of their own land. And I've been the length and breadth of the Northeast over the last at least 14 years, encouraging my fellow Jamaicans that don't just talk, but get involved with your community organization, organize yourself, and be a part of the diaspora affairs. So that is my goal, to unite, and that was what I've been working on for the last few years, diligently.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, we're going to give each nominee an opportunity to rebut. I'm not so sure if there's much rebuttal there, since it's just they're describing how they have been involved in the diaspora recently, but we're going to do it nonetheless, and we're going to ask Ms. Lawrence Maitland to go right ahead and give her 1 minute rebuttal to the response of her choice.
Well, not so much of a rebuttal, if you will, but expanding on my role in terms of the diaspora. You know, one of the things for me is that I'm by day, in terms of work, I am a social work administrator. More specifically, a program director for youth in entering foster care, teenagers entering foster care. And in that regard, I've been doing this for over 10 years, and one of the things that is heartbreaking for me, and a stark realization for me, is that I see a lot of Jamaican families come across my door. And not all Jamaicans are doing well in the diaspora, and so we like to mention giving back to Jamaica, but how are Jamaicans doing here is also important to myself, and a core part of even my work right now on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you. Ms. Lawrence.
Again, like Akelia, I don't think I have a rebuttal, so to speak. Okay, but I understand Ron's eagerness and urgency to educate our community and Jamaicans in the community. We are a strange lot, and I would like to compliment him on that. Okay, those of us on the usual road spend a lot of time doing that, and so he's right on target.
Yes. Mr. Ingleton?
No, Mr. Chairman, I really wouldn't want to rebut anything that my good friends have shown us. In fact, I want to support them. You know, to join hands, because like I said before, my role is not to be divisive, but more one of bringing together. And this is why I stressed that I want to expand the interest of my fellow Jamaicans in reaching out and let their voices be heard.
Thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard the first question being responded to by the nominees. Put your hands together for them. I think they are. And we want to now continue with our second question, which is a little bit deeper and you know, hitting to the knowledge base of the nominees. As you know, this position requires involvement both in the diaspora and in Jamaica. And the question is, are you familiar with the Jamaica Diaspora Institute and the Jamaica Diaspora Foundation? And do you know what the mandate of the Jamaica Diaspora Institute is? Are you familiar with the Jamaica Diaspora Institute and the Jamaica Diaspora Foundation? And do you know what the mandate of the Jamaica Diaspora Institute is?
So yes, I am familiar with the Jamaica Diaspora Institute and the Jamaica Diaspora Foundation. However, I think the mandate is something that I definitely need clarification on. I've never, even though it has been explained to me, I think one of the challenges for myself has been, why does there need to be two separate setup outfits coming out of Jamaica representing the diaspora, and what has that been looking like in terms of representing? It has diaspora in its name, what does that look like in representing the diaspora. I've worked with Professor Neville Ying over the course of the years, and particularly again around different issues affecting the diaspora part, and again more so because I'm a young Jamaican, on issues representing young Jamaicans. But again, a question that has always come up for me has been, what is the purpose of the two different, the Institute and the Foundation? Most of what I've also seen coming out of the Institute has been the organization of the Diaspora Conference, playing a leading role in that regard, and of course doing research or galvanizing resources to help facilitate what we do or what comes from the diaspora. But again, I think that's one of those areas that needs to be looked at to make it much more robust and relevant to the work of the diaspora overall.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, I am familiar with both organizations. One of them, the Institute, I believe, is responsible for planning the conferences. And I think the foundation is the one that is supposed to make the money, get the money for the conference. That's my understanding. But it's curious that I'm asked this question, because one of the things that I put down that when I win, this is what I have to do, is to find out what do they really do. Because in reality, we have not really heard anything about it. I have a very good relationship with Professor Ying, and I intend to honor him in July when I am there, regardless of whether I win or not. Okay, because I'm getting a little bit frustrated with not knowing, with nothing coming out from those organizations. There's no communication as to the status and where they are with what they do. And, you know, that's the extent of my knowing about them.
Okay.
And not knowing about them.
Mr. Ingleton.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. You know, for me, I am very much familiar of the existence of the Institute and the Foundation. And like my colleague said a while ago, the need for two separate bodies, I really don't see the need, and this is one of the areas that I think I want to bring together, because there is that or discommunication, you know, and this Diaspora Conference is a good example, because it's only probably just about a month that we have been advised of even whether or not the Diaspora Conference is going to go on, and the dates. And I think that is a clear indication of the disconnect between the two entities. They're not seeing eye to eye, or probably not even talking to themselves. And it's my aim to unify that group and better organize so that we here in the Northeast become a part of the decision in Jamaica. As a matter of fact, I do feel very strongly that it's the wrong time for this particular conference as it is being scheduled, because right at the same time of independence, everybody wants a party, you know, and to try and bring the Diaspora Conference at the time when there's independence, you know, people, it probably is not going to even get the sort of support that I would love to see happen. So even the timing, I question. So the mandate is unite in its entirety. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time now we are going to hear the rebuttals, and I hope we have some. We are going to ask Ms. Lawrence Macon to take the shine of the ball.
I'll pass on the rebuttal for now.
You'll pass? Okay. Pass.
I would like to pass as well.
Okay. This is very interesting.
It's only 15.
This is very interesting. Yes, go right ahead.
It's only 15. It's only 15 that I pass off.
But there's another asked question for our colleagues.
Well, the rebuttal period is yours, ma'am. You could have used it in any which way you chose, but you have passed, so we will pass and move on to the next question. Please understand that your rebuttals can be used for anything, asking questions, interacting, challenging, whatever it is that your colleagues have said. to the various questions. So we'll move on to the next question. Thank you very much. So our next question is, are you familiar with the Jamaica National Development Plan, Vision 2030, and what are some of the key components, and how would you facilitate those components within the diaspora here in the Northeast?
So yes, I am familiar with the Vision 2030. I do know it was formulated to make Jamaica the place to live, to raise your family, and to do business. I am not familiar with the intimate details of the plan. It's been a while since I've reviewed it. But certainly key components coming out of that, and a big component of the conference is economic development. And looking at the current government, part of that is the creation of the Economic Growth Council, and figuring out ways to, there's a specific committee within the Economic Growth Council, a task force for diaspora engagement. And so of course, you know, it's one thing to give a man, give a man a fish, as opposed to teach him how to fish.
Yes.
And that's what economic development does. When you have socio-economic issues, what you need is to give, there's something worthy in having income coming in, whether it's in terms of business or employment. So I do know that's a major mandate of the government in capitalizing on Vision 2030. And so for me, coming into this position, it is to figure out a way to what matters to us here. Because remember, this is an advisory board position. So it's advising the minister on what matters to the diaspora in relation to economic development. Not everybody have deep pockets to do investments in Jamaica. And so if investment is part of that push and that thrust, how do you create the opportunity for our average Jamaicans to be able to do that? And what is it that we want to do in regards to that?
Okay, thank you. Ms. Largate?
Yes, yes, I am very familiar with Vision 2030 and have been involved in the education aspect of it. Education is my arena, and we in that arena, between the Union of Jamaican Alumni Associations, individual alumni associations, and the Jamaica Diaspora Education Task Force, we have taken measures and steps and come up with initiatives and programs to address education in Vision 2030. The Ministry of Education is very much aware of what we do. I am also aware, although I have not participated hands-on, with health. Health has made significant inroads in terms of addressing Vision 2030. I have my homework cut out for me in terms of Economic Growth Council and the other aspects. Okay, but it is a document that I have on my computer, all thousands of pages. And yes, I am aware of it, and that part of my platform is to continue to work with the needs and the expressions and the sentiments of Vision 2030.
Okay. You saying with that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I am very familiar with Vision 2030, but I'm disappointed, to say the least. I'm disappointed that I'm only aware of one working component of Vision 2030 that is, you can literally see, which is education. And I applaud my colleague. We at the Union of Jamaica Alumni Association, we have worked diligently and hard to make sure that education stays on the front burner. But in all the other areas, to a lesser extent, you almost don't know if there's an initiative that exists. I'm aware that we have the nurses who work very hard and in conjunction with doctors doing voluntary work from time to time in Jamaica. And that's about where it stops. And I believe that Vision 2030 should be exercising more their options of trying to get Jamaicans here in the Northeast involved in other areas like in industry, small business. We know we are partners with energy in Jamaica, technology issues, that I really do believe that an effort should be made by us here in the Northeast Diaspora to encourage Jamaicans to return home, take home some of the resources, and make good on the wishes of Vision 2030.
Okay. Now we're going into our rebuttal section, and I hope we are not told that we do not have any rebuttals. That is what makes the debate exciting, when we challenge each other in the process. So, Ms. Lawrence Maitland, what do you have for us as regards to a rebuttal?
Sure. An expansion in that, Vision 2030 for me was a prime example of why this position is relevant. When I first learned of Vision 2030 about 10 years ago, the first thing I looked up was, how was this created to begin with? And the Planning Institute said, well, they will do diaspora consultations. Well, I didn't see any diaspora consultations on the development of Vision 2030. And I think for me going into, not even I think, part of for me that mandate going into this, to the Jamaican government, it's you really have to figure out ways to regionalize consultations from the diaspora in a more operationalized way, working with, you look back at mapping Jamaica that they had. Well, they didn't really do well in mapping Jamaica because they didn't really work with us as strongly as they needed to, our radio stations, our TV stations, to get our consultation. And so more of us would probably know a little better about Vision 2030 if we were consulted to begin with on it. Thank you very much. Would I have more time?
Yes. You're done? Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Lardy.
I will speak to both Akelia and Ron. I don't believe that the onus is on Jamaica. I think it's a collaborative effort. And I believe also that with all task forces that are beginning to develop and form, they may not be specifying that they are addressing expectations in Vision 2030, but they're definitely working in areas outside of health and education. And one of the, I want to see more of that, okay? One of the things that we do as Jamaicans is sometimes we quietly go about what it is that we have to do. We don't beat our chest, we don't get up and raise up our hands and stop and carry on. This is what we do, this is what we do. There are a few who do that. But generally we don't. And so as the advisory board member, we need to get out there and find out who are the others and what are their sectors, so to speak.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Ingleton, your turn.
And here's where we differ. Again, education and health on the forefront. But to say that we are working in a corner, in silence, this is where I think the Diaspora Northeast board member comes in. Let your voices be heard. We will not be able to harness resources unless we make it public. So we have to do better public relation related. Get word out to the community. Let them get involved, because it's the community's input that will make us a strong recommendation going to the government of Jamaica. So in that regard, I feel very strongly, very strongly, that it is very important that the Jamaican community know what is Vision 2030.
Thank you very much, sir. No, ma'am. We are finished with that question. Thank you very much for your input. The debate is taking its time and eating up, and I hope you are as excited as I am to hear the candidates reflect on such a very important issue as Vision 2030 tells me that they are indeed engaged, as they say they are. Now the next question is, what do you think are the major concerns and interests of the Jamaican diaspora, particularly in the Northeast? What do you think are the major concerns and interests of the Jamaican diaspora here in the Northeast? Ms. Sakita.
Okay, so for me, I will answer that question to expound on what we weren't able to do in our additional rebuttal time. In that, I don't believe it, I don't think there's a point of disagreement, Dr. Ingleton. We share the same in that we have to do something and let stand firm and let our voices be heard. Certainly, I would say what we have been seeing, health has been a concern for us, education has been a concern for us. However, when you have a potential 2% engagement of the diaspora, can we really say those are the concerns for us, right? And that's where the advisory board will come in to play, as you said, Dr. Ingleton, in that we do need to develop some form of mechanism. And if you go to joinakilia.com, you will see that listed on there that the first platform item is that we connect with the diaspora. As was mentioned earlier, we need to get out there in our communities, wherever we're localized, to make sure that every Jamaican, as much as possible, is aware that we exist, we're your mouthpiece, and what are some mechanisms to make sure that they know, look, what are the issues? What is affecting you? Is it really health? Is that the piece that you want to give back to? Or is it the bread and butter? And I think if you look at remittances, that held steady during recession. What's happening for them is their families. How are my families living, breathing in Jamaica? Because remittance is loyalty dollars, right? If I have $10, I'm going to find a way to give $5 out of it to my grandmother in Jamaica. So if I have to use data as an indication as to what matters for us, it is certainly the well-being of our families and friends in Jamaica, and a lot of that will come through education and health for certain.
Okay, thank you very much. Mrs. Arlene.
I want to spend one moment using the rebuttal that I didn't get. Was that I thoroughly agree with Akilia, and she responded to what I was going to say to Ron. But to the question at hand, major concerns and interests, education and health are popular, and they're social issues, and so everybody can wrap their arms around that. However, I think at the same time, particularly at this time in the diaspora, in this country, immigration and deportation is a major concern. Not only a concern, but an issue, okay? And can only be, we can only resolve it or move forward with it in collaboration with Jamaica, because there are laws that must be followed. We can't just get up and we're going to do this. The other thing is crime. Okay, lots of persons will not go home, okay, because they are afraid and they hear these horror stories. And you know how Jamaicans can embellish things and you end up laughing when it's a serious matter. Okay. Another concern that keeps coming up now and then is representation in government, having a say. Okay, that's a part of this difficult one. I don't know when we're going to get there. I know it can be done. Other countries have done it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ingleton.
Ron, I share my colleague's concern. It's one of my pet peeves. One of the issues, mainly crime. Jamaicans here in the diaspora, when you reach out to most Jamaicans, you want to hear of the gun crime, the killings, and they are scared of going home. When last year home, I haven't been home for 10 years, and who tell you I went to Jamaica because they've been holding up at the airport. So it's one of the areas of major concern, crime. How are we going to get crime down, and how can we in the diaspora support the government in the drive to decrease crime? Also, how are we going to put pressure on the government to discourage or even repeal the laws, that the agreement which we have in the United States of America, that we we deport so many of our Jamaican colleagues for petty crime. Not even crime, just petty things. You know, and a lot of people that are deported don't have any roots in Jamaica. They either leave Jamaica from they were a child, up here being deported for a motor vehicle violation, going home, you know, they end up really being in crime because they have to survive. So that is a concern that has to be addressed, and I believe the diaspora needs to be very forceful in making representation. Health and education is on the top priority. It has been on the top of the priority list and been taken care of. But I think we need to address how we look at crime and violence and deportation of our colleagues back to Jamaica.
Thank you very much. And now we're going to have our rebuttals. Ms. Lawrence Maitland.
Yes, sure. Rev, the key piece of what you said in that question is, what do you think are the concerns for Jamaicans? I don't speak for myself. I mean, certainly I have my issues, my concerns, and so my question to my colleagues is, how do you know for certain that these are the top concerns? And so recently, in preparation for the conference, I created, as part of the work group, a survey. And within 7 days, we had about 190 responses to the survey around what are some of your top issues: employability, entrepreneurship, and deepening cultural ties to Jamaica. Even though you had concerns around education and so forth, those were the top concerns that came up, and the mentoring of young people in Jamaica within 7 days. Data is saying this is what it is, not me thinking that this is what the issues are. Yes, I can throw something in there because that's what I've been volunteering in, but as this role, coming into this role, I am representing the voice of Jamaicans in the North.
Thank you. Ms. Largy.
I would really love to get behind that survey. Okay, because you might be right, your survey might be right, but I need to know more about the audience, the demographics. Because day after day after day, what I hear is deportation and crime. That's what I hear.
Anecdotal, but okay.
Okay. And Jamaicans, people in general have a tendency, you know, they say a lot of water cooler in the elevator.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's heating up, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Mr. Dr. Ingleton, go right ahead with your rebuttal, sir.
It's not really a rebuttal, Mr. Chairman, because I feel my colleagues. I feel my colleagues. And like Ms. Larry said, it's a classic. In the elevator, you hear these things. You know, at the water cooler, you hear these things. If you play dominoes, as most Jamaicans are always in some kind of domino situation, you can hear the discussions loud and clear. Crime is a very major issue. Hence, the fear of my fellow Jamaicans of going home is of concern. I travel to Jamaica on a very regular basis, and just the thought of folks saying that Jamaica is dangerous, I don't see it. But it is on the street, and we got to educate, and that's where we come in. We got to educate the community that is not as bad as you are hearing it. And we got to blame the news media to a large extent because they feed on the negatives.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I can, even though the nominees are trying not to publicly oppose each other and challenge each other in the debate, I can sense a little tension building, and we want to, as we say in the Jamaican parlance, hot party, you know, we want to see. Okay, so our final question then in this section is, can you identify the various Jamaican diaspora task forces that are currently operating? Can you identify the various Jamaican diaspora task forces that are currently operating?
Sure.
Beginning with Ms.
Maitland.
Lawrence.
Thank you. So right now we have several task forces operating. Keep in mind though that it is not a part of the formal structure of the advisory board as yet, right? We have to look at what's going on in terms of best practices there. But we have immigration, education, technology, agriculture, as well as health.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Lardy.
Education, agriculture, crime, and prevention, technology, and immigration and deportation. I am not aware that there is a health task force. I have not heard of it.
Yes, Mr. Dr. Eaton.
I'm aware of all of the above. How much of an effect they are having is not, and again, I applaud the health sector and the education sector. Outside of that, every other area is lacking. Crime, agriculture, you know, technology, it's almost non-existent. You don't hear about it. I really don't. So I feel that it is time enough now that the leader, the representative of the Northeast Diaspora board, make the voices of the people be heard to these particular areas, in these particular areas.
Thank you. All right, now we go to our rebuttal for this question, and we're going to ask Ms. Lawrence Maitland to kick off the ball in terms of rebuttal.
Sure, if you go to callingalljamaicans.org, you will see the various task forces listed there, and you can also vote for me when you go on callingalljamaicans.org. And you know, again, I would say that from my experience with the task forces, it's one of those mechanisms that I've seen really bringing people from across the nation. A lot of people, and you may be right in terms of a health task force, but there's a operational health sector, which is a formal part of the Diaspora Advisory Board mechanism.
Okay. Yes.
I agree with you on the health. No, because health is way ahead of everything.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know how those doctors and nurses just got their act together and they just do. Okay, I used to ask Claudia, oh wait, how do you do it? Why can't the teachers get together? Anyhow, I disagree with Ron in terms of the task force and not doing anything. You need to get on their mailing list. I get these their emails regularly. Okay, and they are working. They are working.
Mr. Ingleton, Dr. Ingleton, your rebuttal, sir.
See, here's where the disconnect comes in. Who mans or put folks on these mailing lists? How is it developed? Who is getting it? How many people getting it? It's not clear to me that there's a lot of Jamaicans that are even aware that these task forces exist. And this is why I said we need to improve our public relations. That's one of the areas that I need to emphasize, improve our public relations and get the word out.
Thank you. All right, so we have come to the end. Put your hands together for them. We're coming to the end of our first session. And already we are hearing that, you know, we have heard that the candidates are well versed. They know what they're talking about. They have an idea as to what is going on with the diaspora and the various machinery that are in the diaspora. And we want to move very quickly as we move. We are going against the time to section 2. And we want to now look a little bit at the candidates' vision and what they are planning and looking forward to if they are elected as advisory board members. So the first question we're going to ask is, what do you see as your role? What do you see as your role as the Diaspora Advisory Board member for the Northeast if you are elected? What do you see as your role? Ms. Maitland, go right ahead.
My role, as stated, very simply, is to be the mouthpiece of the diaspora. As in, I am advising the Minister of Foreign Affairs on issues and concerns affecting the Jamaican diaspora here. But in order for me to do that, that means I need to be out there in front of Jamaicans hearing what those issues and concerns are. And that's my role. Plain and simple.
Okay, thank you very much. Mrs. Largy.
I concur with Akila in that, you know, the advisory board member is a mouthpiece, and so they have to get out there and let the community know that they have a go-to person. They have a go-to person that they can have discussions with, they can ask questions. And my role is also to find all the answers and also to let the powers to be, the appropriate powers to be in Kingston know this. That they need to know what is happening here, what we're thinking, and how we feel. The relationship has got to be two-way, and the advisory board member must play a key role in making that relationship come about and exist.
Thank you very much. Dr. Lucan.
My role, as I see going forward, is one of unification. For the most part, the Northeast is seen as New York, New York, and New York. And by extension, the Northeast, as I know it, involves, I think, 14 states, beginning far south as Washington, coming up and ending up in Maine. And my role, as I see it, is to unify by establishing subcommittees in these other areas that would feed in to me to make representations in its wholeness to the minister responsible in Jamaica.
Thank you. Time for rebuttal on those in that question. Ms. Lawrence Nathan, will you start?
No rebuttal.
No rebuttal. Yes.
I would have to disagree with Ron in terms of the diaspora Northeast being New York, New York, New York. For whatever it was worth, the incumbent advisory board member had representatives in every state that could speak to and respond to in meetings about issues, events that were happening. Okay, I, because of that, was able to meet persons very active in the diaspora in other states. Yes, I don't know anybody in New Hampshire or Maine. Okay, but I do the other states outside the tri-state and further south. I had that opportunity, and I am going to use it. Okay, because I know people now.
Very good. Dr.
I'm not in disagreement. My point is that there ought to be a regular sit down by the folks in the different states, in their different communities, coming up with resolve, so that the Northeast representative would, not forgetting, and I understand the incumbent, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, and it's going to be a lot of work. It will continue to be a lot of work. We need to have a more organized situation in the different states. And I have visited them all, to include New Hampshire and Maine and these places. But we have Jamaicans in just about all these places. But Are they being heard? They feel no.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very exciting indeed. Interesting to see how the winner approaches that question in reality. Okay. Our next question then is, what is your vision? What is your vision as the Jamaica Diaspora Advisory Board member for the Northeast USA? Should you be elected? What would be your vision for the Northeast as a ABM if you are elected? Ms. Wadsworth.
Sure. My vision, and it has always been a vision of mine, but starting and setting that trend with the Diaspora Northeast, modeling that from the Diaspora Northeast, because we're a large diaspora, right? We're twice the size of Jamaica. We're about the size of the population in Jamaica. And so for me, coming in as advisory board member, to have, for us to begin to model what it means to be a viable, borderless, global Jamaican village, where every Jamaican, regardless of whether they were born in Jamaica or out of Jamaica, whether they're second, third, fourth generation Jamaicans, have a voice where they can contribute back to Jamaica, know that they're supported, know that they belong as community members. And so that's my vision, and beginning to model that in this role is certainly beginning to give them that voice, and certainly beginning to let them know you are a part of our community. If you're born in Jamaica, you don't lose your citizenship just because you become a citizen of America or UK or wherever, right? And if you're born in America and your parents and you have Jamaican heritage, go and look into your Jamaican citizenship. Simple actions that you can take, but regardless of that, there is an opportunity for you to give back. And so for me, it's for us to be a strong borderless global village, if you will, of Jamaicans that's very global in this modern age. And for me, a strong diaspora is a strong Jamaica. That's what, for me, again, a strong global village is about.
Thank you. Yes.
My vision includes an educated diaspora. And I say educated in diaspora affairs. We have a lot of persons in our community that they think the diaspora is an organization, and they want to know who's the president. And you have to pay dues. And it sounds like, it sounds ridiculous, but there are persons who believe that. And I want to see, when that question is asked, somebody else in the diaspora can answer it. It doesn't always have to be the advisory board member. And thus, being educated gives them that opportunity to be able to determine where it is that they can put their one cocoa, okay, as a unified diaspora community. And I have to echo Akila, is that a strong diaspora is a strong Jamaica.
Thank you. Dr. Elizabeth.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. For me, my vision is that when I would have completed the term, the name, the diaspora, will be second nature. Everybody would know when you say diaspora, you mean Jamaicans abroad. And the support and the energy that I would put into making sure that our voices be heard by the powers that be in Jamaica. At the end of my tenure, you would have been satisfied that, yes, this board is a board to be reckoned with and to be listened to. Because right now, is the feeling of most of us that we are only speaking with a puffer here in a lot of areas. And to take away the feeling that the diaspora board is political, because the word is out there that is either, I wonder if it's JP or PNP, and this is a non-partitional situation. It's Jamaicans abroad trying to do the best for their Jamaicans, and that is my goal, to make Jamaica and Jamaicans in the diaspora understand that they are a part of their homeland and support it wholeheartedly.
Thank you very much. Let me just pause to say again thank you to the Jamaica Diaspora Show and Mr. Mark Milward for allowing us to have this debate sponsored by the Jamaica Diaspora Northeast Election Committee. Thank you so much, and let me also again thank everyone for being here to support these candidates as they outline their platform. Come on, put your hands together again. We really do appreciate your work here in the diaspora. We would like now to have the rebuttals on that response. We're going to ask Ms. Lawrence Maitland to go ahead and give her rebuttal on the matter of vision.
Sure. Look, certainly Jamaicans need to know this word diaspora because that's the latest word we're using, right? Overseas Jamaican, foreigner, immigrants, whatever you want to call it now, right? And, certainly we need to make sure that Jamaicans are educated. I think the point here and some of the theme here coming out of this is how are we connected, regardless of the latest word we use to define this movement. And that for me is where we need to go. It's how do we connect with Jamaicans so they know we exist to represent them.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not ready to rebut my colleague's position.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, Dr. Newton.
It seems that we are on the same page. Turn the page. It's a question of how we sell the product. And this is why I prefaced my opening remarks by saying it is important to better our public relations and to let folks know that the diaspora board exists and that there's a vote. And this is why I indicated that we need to set up the mechanism that people know that there is a diaspora board and that the diaspora board represents them as Jamaicans taking their views and concerns back to the island of Jamaica.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, we want to, in this issue of vision, turn our attention to Jamaica itself. Much of what we have been doing has been surrounding the diaspora, those outside of Jamaica. What do you see as the top 3 concerns driving the focus of the current Jamaican government? What do you see as the top 3 concerns driving the focus of the Jamaican government? And Ms. Lawrence Maitland, we're going to invite you to begin with your answer.
Sure. So, the beautiful thing about a rebuttal time is that I can use it for whatever I want, including expanding, not necessarily rebutting someone's vision. And a vision has to be at some point in time as a leader, our vision, not just my vision. And so it's important at some point in time that that's the narrative that we begin to set as we move forward. And part of that, again, yes, Jamaica's priority, economic development, education, and specific, and hearing from the Minister of Foreign Affairs, how do we engage specifically in relation to Jamaica, the diaspora, 2nd and 3rd generation, because immigration has been stabilizing over the years, and the concern is how are we connecting with our young people, the future of Jamaica, right? And so I would say those are some of the main, looking at this conference and seeing some of the priorities that the government has put out there. It's certainly around economic development, investment, education is certainly one of those pieces, but the 2nd and 3rd generation and how do we begin to capitalize on those opportunities.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Lardy?
I have to admit that I need to spend more time listening to commentaries on what is going on in Jamaica. But based on what I do, because I read just about all the newspapers that are printed, and I listen to all the radio shows, and I believe that the top concerns that the government has at this time is definitely crime, is one of them, and economic growth includes the development and investment. More of us need to take charge of our island and help it in that respect. Yes, there is a thinking that the streets of the diaspora are paved with gold. And I know that is not the case, but clearly our little saying about one cocoa is definitely one way to address and help.
Thank you. Dr. Ingleton.
Again, education, as I see it, has been a main focus. Not necessarily financed the way I would love to see it, but recently I sit down with the minister himself, who seemed to be very much abreast of the lack of attention, if I want to use that term, and the need for Jamaica to increase the classroom sizes. Not the classroom size, but the amount of schools that are in Jamaica, but here's a problem with financing. Crime is another area of major concern, hence the government needs to be supported in their efforts to stem crime. And also, how do we foster and increase our tourist spaces in Jamaica? Because that's a major employer of labor. And the unemployment situation is one of the main concerns, and I see that as one area that we could do a lot in that would enhance or in bringing down the unemployment rates.
Thank you. Can we have the rebuttals now? Ms. Lawrence Nathan, please go ahead. Passing again on rebuttal. Yes, Ms. Laurie.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused with Ron's determination that education, unless he means that educated persons will not commit crime, or educated persons have deep pockets to assist in the economic growth, development, and investment. I have to say that I think we were both privy to the conversation with the minister that Jamaica is handling education. They have the right thinking and they're on the right road.
Okay. Dr. Ingleton.
I am a bit startled that I'm even challenged in that area of education, because
It's about time.
Everyone can remember, at least in this room, not too long ago, the implementation of the literacy program, and that made a lot of inroads. But since, I would say, the last 20 years, that's taken a backseat. So, to know that this minister is putting some effort into getting more financing out of the budget to build schools and to train teachers, I am all for that. And this is why I'm saying it's one of my concerns, because without an educated community, we're lost.
Thank you very much. So, Our next question is going to be a follow-up question from the one that we just gave. Now, the role of the Diaspora Advisory Board member is to advise the Minister with responsibility for the Jamaican overseas community on issues relating to the diaspora. The question is, what is your view of the current level of interest of the Jamaican government in diaspora matters? What is your view of the current level of interest of the Jamaican government in diaspora matters?
As put out by the government, the diaspora is very important to Jamaica's development. Certainly, as a diaspora community, we have some concerns about how that is demonstrated. But the minister has been doing her roadshow, if you will, to get out to the diaspora community to engage us. But as far as Jamaica has articulated, the diaspora is important to its development. Again, though, you know, look, the government is an age-old system, right? It is a system, and in terms of our relationship with Jamaica as going into the conference, is about partnership. And as partners, we have to then hold their foot to fire about that, us being their priority, us being a priority for them. And I think that's where it has been lacking. It's not so much whether that they have articulated whether or not we're important, but it's more so how do we organize ourselves as a community to hold them to that priority.
Okay, thank you very much.
The current government, the current administration was very vocal when they got into power, so to speak, about the role of the diaspora, the need for the diaspora, the respect for the diaspora. But I have to admit that, and I am trying to put myself in their shoes in terms of priority, is somewhere along the line I think something got lost. Okay, and I say this because I feel that they have a task to do, they have a job to do, okay, and we can't always, the diaspora can't always determine and tell them this is what we want. My point is, whatever it is that you decide to do, tell us. Tell us. Okay, if we don't like it, we can love it, or we can rebut. But I found that lacking over the times, over the past year and a half. I have found that lacking, and that's why I'm going to be at the conference.
Right. Okay, Dr. Ingleton, tell us, sir, what you think.
I have to applaud the minister responsible for diaspora affairs for doing a roadshow. But whether or not it is the feeling of in the other areas, the other ministries, that the diaspora is important, they are not showing it. I've been to Jamaica so often, and when you speak about the diaspora conference, what is that? And I'm talking about people in government at high level. The diaspora conference is, to me, it has not been fed to all the ministers that is important that they recognize that the diaspora is important to the development of Jamaica. There are a few ministers isolated that have shown interest, and it is noticeable when I attend diaspora conferences. You know, there's just 3 or 4 ministers that even show up, and away from the Prime Minister or the Governor General coming to address the conference. The Minister of Youth might be the only one, and the Minister of Education, and most anybody else. And to some extent, the Minister of Tourism. What about agriculture? You know, what about mining? What in all these areas? So, and when you speak to people, folks in the streets, even the ministers themselves, I didn't know that a diaspora board exists.
Okay. Yes, so we'd like to hear rebuttals on those comments at this moment. Ms. Lawrence, please go ahead.
I'm attending the conference as well, absolutely. It's an expensive time of the year. Have to figure out how to get there. And because my money is worth something, I'm not just going to show up. I am going to help craft how I show up and how others that I may speak on behalf of show up to the conference. And that's why, look, you know, they sent out the draft program, we have contentions about it, but sat down, write a proposal, consulted with others on how that proposal, what that proposal should look like, particularly for the youth forum. And again, followed up, and as I mentioned earlier, had 180 something responses to say, this is what we want. And again, it goes back to, I'm going to hold their foot to fire. If you say second and third generations are important, this is how we see second and third generations participating, and I have the backing of 180 something persons. Change that. Is it you take it or leave it? And thus far, they've been responsive to that. So, you know, again, it's how I show up on behalf of those who I represent, and holding that relationship again. If this is what you say is a priority in our relationship, I'm going to hold you to that, but I'm going to make sure that I have the backing of my constituents.
Thank you. Ms. Arthur.
Yeah, I am probably going to rebut myself.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, because I know what I said. On the other hand, we need to present our feelings or whatever you want to call it, make our proposal as Akeelia referred to, and you know, stand up and let them know, hey, what happened? You're not talking to us. This is not what we like. We can't scream and carry on. We need to get back together, and I think that's communication is important.
Okay. Dr. Ingleton, please go ahead with your rebuttal.
My rebuttal is that I disagree. I think we need to scream and make noise. Plenty noise. Because knowing my fellow Jamaicans, if you don't agitate, you don't get the results. And I feel that if we do not have strong influence over the minister that is responsible and make enough noise, then all the noise that we are making, the little that we are making, will be falling on his or her being minister here and not going no further.
All right, thank you very much, sir. So we have come to the end of our second section. I am being prompted by my sponsors for a break, but I realize that one of our nominees has to catch a plane, and we don't want the individual to miss their plane. So I am not so sure I want to be guided by our sponsors on this one. If we are able to take a break, what says thou? You need 2 minutes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are voted to take a 2-minute, 3-minute break, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Jamaica minutes.
Stretch. There is refreshments outside if you want to stretch.
Okay, so this is why you know when they go on a break because we get live, right? Let's look around a little, look at behind the scenes, and this is your opportunity. This is like to tell everybody to tune in, text your friends. Trading Blues is here, and then you're behind the scenes.
I thought maybe it was a swear. Women's conference. Whatever happened now. Oh, the women lawyers? I meant like the women that Friday after Bar associate. Who the other go eat? Yeah, man.
Are you flying?
We should do this again.
Is everyone flying JetBlue? Is it only JetBlue everybody flying? No?
Fly Jamaica.
Oh, Fly Jamaica?
Maybe, I don't know.
JetBlue is like trying to take everything now. Everybody's flying to the group.
Yeah, because Jamaican airline and what it's supposed to be doing. And this the customs. I can take this.
Oh yeah, thank you. Look at some juice. Oh no, it's alright. Just some water. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so this is live here. Take a look at the break. Ladies and gentlemen, you may ask what you've been watching. You've been watching my hands at work. Trading photos is here, and we'll be right back in a short while. But since this is live, there's no need to cut. We'll be back. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Still here? Yeah, it's working. Sorry, I was just testing. Yeah, so we'll be back. Just try to see if this thing got the focus. Is it focusing? We're trying to see if, yeah, this little camera focuses.
I need a favor. I don't know how long. I don't know. You still recording?
Yeah. Because
you don't turn it off.
No. So I have a 10 hour this in there. Yeah. Turn it.
My close-ups. Yeah. This camera is on my head. I don't know when it was.
Okay.
So can you give me a copy of your...
Alright, no problem. Because I do the live stream, so I'm not even doing it professional as I usually do it. Because I was told to do the cheapest way possible. So the cheapest way possible really is for me not to look. You see, I never told you. I'm today, this is what keep me standing. I have one leg seat, like you drop like this. So I have this Germany and this bone here. That's how I stand. So I do access something when I'm filming, but you do have a budget, so it's like, I just say, I'll just come and do it. Pay for transportation, that's it. But, so that's why I bring my professional equipment. Now, how I film, you're going to be able to get some good shots. Because see, sometimes I did. You see, sometimes I had it like this going from person to person.
I put it on every person. I got the wide shot on everybody. I got a wide shot on everybody. And then I just go from
okay,
but this was, it wasn't, I don't know when.
You got the tape on there?
I don't know. It happens.
You know what it happens? I must tell you, when I just start using that, it happens to me. You have to be able to train your eye just to look at this like all the time. That little red thing. It happened to me at one of the most important events.
This is an important.
When I just started using it.
So,
I got a flash. Oh, okay, when I finish. But
we're ready. We're ready.
You're going to have to take a while to or transfer when you finish.
Alright.
Take like 20 minutes to transfer.
Alright, okay.
You know the audio or just sing? Okay, so we going back?
Yes. Sorry for that break.
I'm just making sure the hand focused.
By the way, I'm on the Economic Growth Council.
Oh yeah, it's focusing.
We know.
Yeah, see it focusing.
No, everybody don't know.
Thank you.
That's why I wanted to make sure he got these questions in, because there's some questions that's in front of the council right now.
Okay, you're behind the
That's in
scenes
front of
talk.
the council right now.
And I ain't cut that. No, it's alright, I'm a vegan.
You're a vegan?
Yes.
So you don't eat content?
Okay,
Because they touch each other.
welcome back.
I appreciate it.
We are going into our third section of the debate. So far, it has been a robust interaction with the nominees really engaging the questions and showing us a little bit of what they are made of and vying for our support as the next advisory board member. We thank again the Jamaica Diaspora show and Mr. Mark Millward for allowing us to have this debate, by facilitating this debate, and we thank the JD&E Elections Committee, of which I'm chair, for sponsoring the debate. We are now going to look at diaspora development, and in fact, Before we go to diaspora development, I'm told that there are two questions that have quite significant importance, or significance rather, that we should get into the debate, and I'm going to acquiesce. The question is, what do you think of the idea of an immigration card in lieu of a passport for Jamaicans living in the diaspora, whereby all the benefits of citizenship can be obtained except for voting privileges? What do you think of the idea of an immigration card in lieu of a passport for Jamaicans living in the diaspora, whereby all the benefits of citizenship can be obtained except voting privileges? And I'm told that this is something that is being recommended now by the Economic Growth Council, and it will be something that will come across the desk of an alien, and we want to know what would your response be.
Sure. So I have heard of the immigration card. The last news article that I saw on it was that they want to review the feasibility of the immigration card. One thing that comes immediately to mind for me, what is the purpose in changing out your passport, which is a CARICOM passport? What is the purpose? And how will that affect you having a CARICOM passport, right? The CARICOM passport allows you more freedom of movement across the region, and so I want to know what the impact of that would be. I don't have much details on it. I actually attempted to research it and couldn't find much details on it. It is good to know that we have an audience member that is a member of the council, and so I would want to follow up with Mr. Millward in getting more details. Whether or not I'm an advisory board member, more details on that immigration card.
Thank you. Ms. Hardy.
Yes. I think an immigration card is a good thing, but not in lieu of the passport. The passport, as he explained, gives you freedom to travel throughout the region. The card wouldn't. What I like about the idea of a card is, I don't know if you know, but when we go to Jamaica as citizens of the United States, of the diaspora, okay, you pay a different amount of money to attend certain places in Jamaica. And that's not fair, because we are bringing more to the island by just being there than just that fee in order to enter the park or the beach or whatever. So I like the idea of an immigration card, but definitely not in lieu of. And I need to find out more about it.
Okay. Dr. Ingleton.
To say the least, I am very skeptical. I disagree with any immigration card, because it's actually going to be a duplication of a passport. And I see, if I can just envision my fellow Jamaicans sitting down, once we start having this immigration card, we're going to start a piece of it. You talk about a difference in fees and charges, and have to identify. I think it's a separation of them and we. It's enough a challenge having a Jamaican passport, but for us separately now we get a card to identify yourself as we and them. I am totally against an immigration card, opposed to it up to the max.
Thank you very much. Rebuttal. I see, people gesticulating. Yes, there's differences right there.
Disagree, agree. Again, none of us at the table have the details to understand what the purpose of that immigration, it's fellow Jamaicans that have conceptualized this idea. And so I want to know more details around why, what's the purpose of this, again, immigration card. And if we have that opportunity for consultation, it could come down to, yes, this doesn't make sense for us. This is not what we want. And how do we make sure that when we're given back that feedback, unlike in the past, that there is a representative number of Jamaicans that are responding back? Because I've seen agenda move forward regardless of the feedback that past advisory board members have given on our behalf. But when you have numbers behind you, it's a different story. And so, you know, for me, I can't agree or disagree because, as we admitted here, we don't have the details to know why did you conceptualize this idea to begin with. Here's a fellow diaspora member who's saying, look, I'm a member of the Economic Growth Council. I, want to know what you think about this. So I want to know more. Tell me more about this and why you think it makes sense.
Thank you. Roberto?
I think that Ron makes a very good point, but at this time, I don't know that I know enough about the immigration card and what, if any, is the intent behind it. So I'm sitting on the fence right now. I think it's a great idea, but there's much more that I would need to know.
Yes, sir.
See, Mr. Chairman, I have heard of the immigration card, and in the streets, the word is one more piece of paper we have to fill, and then there's going to have to renew it after how much years. And if you go to Jamaica, you can't find your card, where it's going to be disenfranchised. Forget about it. We don't need another piece of paper. And the word in the street is that it's one more way of taxing us when we get to Jamaica in the future. We have enough of that, and we don't want to increase the aggravation for us for filling out forms and making sure when you go to Jamaica you have this card. What happened? They're going to tell us when we come to Jamaica we don't have the immigration card, we can't turn around. Forget about it. I'm totally against it. And I will be very aggressive.
Thank you. Thank you. Just to remind the candidates, the question did ask for your thoughts. So thoughts are not always predicated on knowledge. So you are free to express. Thank you. Now the debate is heating up. Yes, thank you very much. So we want to quickly, we have two more questions in the category of diaspora development, and I want to get to these questions, and if I think we are almost out of time. The first question on the diaspora development for our nominees is, what are your recommendations to enhance the development of the diaspora movement in the Northeast? What are your recommendations to enhance the development of the diaspora movement in the Northeast?
I'll answer that question in this way. And there are several points that the different nominees have mentioned, that people on the street have mentioned. Two things that stand out have to do with, people don't know that this board exists. People think that, hey, is this an organization? Can I join? What's the membership fee? As opposed to all Jamaicans living outside of Jamaica are, by nature of the word diaspora, members of the diaspora. But the second issue that has been coming up is the structure of the diaspora leadership. And I'm not just going to say advisory board, the diaspora leadership, whether it's in relation to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Because you have to have some form of infrastructure to hold what the work that we're going to be doing on behalf of diaspora. And I see this role not as a one-term role. And in answering that is that we need to have some form of strategic outline, plan, if you will, on the next 6 years. Whether or not I'm in position, I shouldn't have to come in and reinvent the wheel and do my own thing or what I think the role should be. There has to be some form of succession planning, careful transition planning. And so coming into this role, it's how do we build on? What has been working? What has not been working? Is the task forces the way to go? Is it not the way to go? What about the sectors? If you now have task forces, how does that? Does that render the sectors relevant or not? What's going on here? And so there has to be some form of strategic plan for the next 5, 6, however many years to outline what is our direction so that when I leave, the work continues. We build on that work. Certainly I want to build on the current momentum that our current advisory board has been setting, But now it's time to really make it clear, this is the way forward. How are we going to implement some of these ideas that we have?
Thank you very much. Mrs. Larry?
The advisory board member needs support and structure and organization. And that is the only way to communicate and educate the community. There has to be regular, timely communications. The community needs to know when they can have information, where they can get the information. And to Atelia's point, it has to be put in effect so that it lasts for a while. Each advisory board member can't just come in and change everything. That doesn't work. The continuity is a must. Okay, and that is what I feel is needed. The advisory board member has that challenge now to determine how to structure the community, how to structure the states, how to structure the sectors, and how do the task force fall in line, because the task forces are all global. They're not just for the Jamaica Diaspora Northeast. And so that is something that the advisory board member must reckon with, and will need discussion with past ABMs as well as Kingston.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, for me, I think the role of the diaspora representative is one that should be an accredited role, one that is recognized in Jamaica as being the mouthpiece of the folks here, the Jamaicans here, and here in the diaspora. And that we do play a very formalized role in the forward planning of Jamaica. And that we want to support, but give us the voice which we deserve to have. We're not asking, I don't think we're asking to dictate, but surely to be listened to. And I believe that coming out of having regular meetings, forums here in the Northeast and throughout the country, the ideas that flow out of here will be loud enough that the minister and ministers in Jamaica will have to listen and not play a deaf ears, as I think in most cases has been demonstrated over the last, my involvement and interacting with the folks in Jamaica. We need to integrate community leaders into the fold. Jamaicans have plenty. Jamaicans are plenty all over, and we need to get the word out. And this is why earlier I said public relations is very, very important.
Thank you very much, Dr. Newton. Okay, we're now going to rebuttal on that question, and remember that the question was, what are your recommendations to enhance the development of the diaspora movement in the Northeast? Rebuttals, please.
You know, Dr. Newton talked about being loud. You know, they say empty barrels make the most noise. And in order for us as a community not to be seen as making the most noise, just making loud noises, please visit joinakelia.com to see how I plan to approach this. My colleague has agreed in a sense, and I love the agreements and not too much rebuttals my way, that we need a plan going forward. We need a plan in approaching this issue to be taken as serious partners in this process. Whether it is that some of us will make some noise over there, some of us will sit at the table, but how are we going to pull these strategies together to be seen as serious partners in development? And that's my plan in making sure that the Northeast sets the tone and model how we go about doing that, and starting with our strategic plan.
Thank you. Ms. Laurie.
I really don't have any rebuttals.
Okay.
Okay, because we're all, it seems like we're all on the same side.
Thank you. Mr. Dr. Ingleton.
I just want to point out that it's not noise like the sound system of which I spoke. When I refer to noise, I'm talking about the community as a voice, and when the numbers are listened to and heard, then whatever recommendations that come out that we are able to take to the ministers responsible for the different portfolios, right? It is heard and actions taken that will satisfy our concerns here in the diaspora.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, very robust conversation there, almost resembling a further heating up of the debate. I love that. We are here, ladies and gentlemen, to get you to hear the face-off and the basic the various manifestos of the nominees. We want to move quickly to our final question for the evening. Our final question for the evening, still on the diaspora development. Should you be elected, what would be your 3 top priorities in your first 100 days of office? Should you be elected? Executive action. What would be your 3 top priorities in your first 100 days of office? Of course, knowing fully well that we are on the heel of a conference. Knowing fully well that we are on the heel of a conference and you would be our representative at that conference. What would be your 3 top priorities?
Well, thanks for sharing. One of the first priority is how do we approach conference. We still need to have a Northeast conversation on how we're going to go into conference. We have yet to meet. Yes, there's been a draft program circulated, but my challenge to our current ABM is that we really need to pull our community together to talk about how we're going to enter conference. There are a lot of us who are not going because it's too costly, right? And people who are traditionally there are not going because, look, you know, that's Independence time. I would love to bring my kids to Jamaica with me, but it's just too much money and it's 2 weeks out from Independence. And so certainly I think that's the first priority. It's us coming together. Whether again I'm elected, as I've been doing, it's how do I make sure that the voice of those who are not going will be represented, and including the pushing for the use of technology. What about live streaming as we're doing here so that people can participate remotely as well? Secondly, of course, is the structure. That's immediate. You can't do real work and you can't hold that work without structure. So how do we pull in together, as our advisory boards have been doing? They have teams, they have committees, they have people that have been working with them. So how do we continue to do some of that, beef that up to really make sure that we're getting out there and getting to the different states? Because yes, there are people who have been complaining, and I hear that boy, it just seems like it's New Jersey, Connecticut, New York. So we certainly want to get out there with that. And a big piece of that is connected. And for me, with this campaign, it has been about that, is that at the end, win, lose or draw, although I'm in it to win it, I've set the tone about communicating and connecting. That it's not just the few. And so whatever tools are at my disposal, social media, Facebook, WhatsApp, however I'm going to get that message out there, I've accomplished something. I have accomplished something at the end of the day.
Thank you. Ms. Larkin.
Okay, the three top priorities. One of them is to visit every state, all 13 states. New York will be last. Yes, I want to get out there. I want them to know who I am, and I can know who is in these states. And while I'm doing that, get a sort of sense of their thoughts on this diaspora situation, the diaspora, what do they know about it, and start my educating process at that time. As far as the conference, something tells me that by the time the ABN is announced, I'm not so sure how much time we have, but I will be giving it my best to reach out. It will be a bit late, I think, to engage a lot of persons to attend, but we could come up with some kind of a consensus or a newsletter or something where immediately we can start to communicate with each other and connect with each other. Because I think we need that. Okay, we are kind of like all over the place right now.
Thank you. Dr. Newton.
Well, my 90-day goal, my first 90 days goal, primarily is to attempt to visit all the states in the Northeast and have a town hall meeting. This way I get a feel of what is the feeling of my colleagues in all the states. Once I have achieved that, I would love to see us, or I would set up a secretariat that would be manned, not full-time, but to communicate that the diaspora at large will be able to reach out to. And more so that we have a dedicated telephone connection and the use of, and thirdly, the use of the social media to send out regular communique to the diaspora. And in essence, you know, there's so much that I'd like to see happen in that 30 days, because we need to increase the number of people who are aware and is in contact with, in terms of information. Using Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, all these different modules. We need to have everybody involved. This way more people can be aware of the existence of the diaspora.
Thank you. Okay, we will now have the rebuttal for that final question. Ms.
Sure. No rebuttal per se. I thank you for the affirmation, and that what's happening right now as we speak is that people are texting me on WhatsApp and making their comments and feedback because they're watching, and I really thank folks for watching, and I thank you for the support, and I thank you for the feedback around how we're doing and responding to the questions that have come up. And one of that reminder is that Jamaica Diaspora Day is June 16th. And, you know, again, in talking about how do we prepare for conference, maybe that's an opportune time for us to get together, whether it's in celebrating Jamaica Diaspora Day, but to talk about, again, how do we enter conference, because conference usually happens around that time. And again, the affirmation coming from others, for me, is that my first 100 days start right now. Win, lose, or draw. So go to joinakelia.com and check out the work that we have already started doing. Because again, you know, when Marcus Garvey, before he started UNIA, what I loved about his story is that he went around the different regions talking to the average person and connecting with the average person. I'm not waiting for that position. The position starts right now. And so check out the website. We've started that process of engagement of our community, connecting with our community. And, you know, so certainly, again, thank you for the affirmation throughout. And, you know, again, it's about how do we approach this together.
Okay.
Yes. What I said that I was going to do, the only difference, okay, I don't have a rebuttal. We all are on the same page. But I just want to expand a little bit, is that I've never been to the other state, all the other states, and I've been to the state, met their representatives, okay? But I have been doing it, and I continue to educate and share every opportunity that I have. And of course that will continue. I have a plan up my sleeve for Diaspora Day, despite the fact that the announcement comes so close to Diaspora Day. But it's worth a try. And I would just like to point out here is that Akili and I go back too far. We have spent many times in the in malls, in the food courts, planning the future of Jamaica and the diaspora. And therefore you might see a kindred link here, okay? We wish each other the best, okay? And Ron, hang in there.
Thank you. Marcel, 1 minute. Sir.
Again, I'm not here to rebut. I'm just here to build. I want to say thanks to the planning committee for allowing us, and me in particular, the opportunity to debate the topics that so passionately I feel about my Jamaica, and hope that given the opportunity, I will be able to represent my fellow Jamaicans in the diaspora in a very positive way. It's my intention to show all my previous experiences. Many folks know me from the labor movement in Jamaica, and know of my ability to lead and to put forward representation on their behalf. Thanks again, Mr. Moderator, for your time. And thanks to the audience.
Okay. Put your hands together for the fantastic job. I would have liked to have gone into a closing remark section, but I think in those rebuttals, the rebuttals were indeed closing remarks, and that I appreciate. Again, we want to thank our sponsors, the Jamaica Diaspora Show, and Mr. Mark Millward and his team. We want to thank the technicians who are live streaming and told that it is coming over very well. And I trust that you who are at home watching this debate have formed your own opinions as to who it is that will best represent us here in the Northeast. Jamaica has 3 million Jamaicans outside of Jamaica, and pretty much we definitely are highly potentialized to help Jamaica to become a first world country, economically and otherwise. And I believe if we can get the diaspora motivated and mobilized, strengthened to help Jamaica, it will be to our benefit, all our benefits, particularly those who are in Jamaica. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you very much, candidates, for allowing yourself to serve. I really appreciate, we really appreciate you, and may the best man or woman.
Yeah.